In other words, the ideal Kurashi simply means the ideal way of spending our time, and therefore is separate from the ideal home. This realization reminded me of my university days, when I lived in Tokyo with my parents. Even though I had my own little room, which in Japanese cities is a huge luxury, I was always full of ideals and aspirations. I dreamed of having a bigger room, a cuter kitchen, a little garden on the balcony, nicer curtains on the windows, and so on. But the kitchen was my mother's territory, which I was forbidden to change without permission. And my room didn't even have a window, let alone a balcony. But this gap between my dreams and reality didn't bother me. I used to boast about how much I loved my room. The reason I loved it was because it was my own space, a place where I could enjoy my ideal lifestyle, whether that meant relaxing before bed with aromatherapy, listening to my favorite classical music, or placing a small vase with a single flower on my bedside table. In other words, the ideal lifestyle refers to what we do, not to where we live. Once my clients finish tidying up their homes, very few of them consider moving or completely redecorating afterward. Often, the biggest change they describe is how they spend their time at home. Through these changes, they come to love the space in which they live, regardless of whether it matches their ideal. Even if you can't move to a new house or apartment, you can still change your lifestyle. You just need to live as if your space is your ideal home. That's really the point of tidying up. So, when imagining your ideal lifestyle, think concretely about what you'd like to do and how you'd like to spend your time at home. Oddly enough, once they've finished tidying and have realized their ideal lifestyle, many of my clients actually end up with the house and even the furnishings of their dreams. I can't count the times I've heard my clients say things like, 2 years after tidying, we moved into a house exactly like the one I imagined. Or, someone gave me the kind of furniture I'd always wanted. This is one of the many strange and wonderful effects of tidying that I've witnessed through my work. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. But if you're going to imagine your ideal lifestyle, why not go all out? Have you given up on your ideal home? Although changing the way we spend our time can bring us closer to our ideal lifestyle, I'm not suggesting that we give up our vision of the ideal home and substitute something more realistic. That would negate the whole concept of sparking joy through tidying. So how can you achieve the living space of your dreams? Is it possible, for example, to redo a typical one-room tatami mat Japanese apartment in Rococo style? I once thought something like that would be inconceivable. But in fact, even this can be done. One of my favorite books is Fashion Encyclopedia of Akihiro Miwa, published by Shueisha Inc., in which Miwa, a Japanese celebrity, presents the one-room apartment where he lived in his youth. Although the space was only about 100 square feet, the interior was gorgeous. Miwa carpeted the straw tatami mats with plush-covered cardboard, covered the sliding closet doors with checkerboard cloth, and adorned them with photos of famous actresses. Handmade pink curtains graced the windows, while the dresser, record player, and other items were transformed with paint and ribbons. In the photographs, the space resembles a room in a luxurious European palace rather than a traditional Japanese-style room. You don't have to move or spend lots of money to make your home chic and charming. Instead, redecorate it with a little creative intelligence and innovation. These words from Miwa's book continue to encourage and inspire me. I first read the book when I was at university. Miwa was invited to be the guest speaker at our university festival, and as a member of the student newspaper club, I was given the opportunity to interview him. I had never met anyone like him. He spritzed the meeting room with